Tonight, community leaders come together to talk police policy and procedure. Plus, the Gulf Coast is bracing for the expected onslaught of one of the most powerful hurricanes in recent memory. And later,
how do things like masks and social distancing work for the hearing and visually impaired? I'm Zach Shermley outside the Montana School for the Deaf and Blind, where we're just a few days into the first week of school here. I'll have those answers coming up.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Thanks for making MTN your choice for news tonight. I'm Tim McGonigal. Keely Van Mittendorp is off this evening. Cascade County officials weighed in earlier this week and today after announcing dozens of COVID-19 cases at the detention center on Monday. While the attorney's office expects to see requests for lowered bail amounts, the decision to make that change lies with district judges. Judge Greg Pinsky told MTN News today there are 12 factors in Montana law that judges must consider when setting a person's bail amount. Those range from the defendant's prior record to their financial ability and mental health status. He says while COVID-19 concerns relating to bail hearings are new, he still considers all dozen factors that determine eligibility of early release or lowered bail.
We're bound to follow the law that the legislature has put in place, and the legislature, of course, requires judges to consider those 12 factors and arrive at a bail that's reasonable for that particular defendant. And
Pinsky said he's tried to consider alternative treatment programs and jail overcrowding in mind over his 8 years on the bench. Helena City leaders held a presentation tonight to give more insight into the Helena Police Department's operations. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian has more on what was highlighted in tonight's discussion.
As part of a larger review into HPD policies and procedures, the Helena City Commission learned more about how the HPD hires its officers and about what those officers are responding to. The Commission decided to hold a review on Helena police procedures earlier this summer in response to national discussions about police reform. Police Chief Steve Hagan led Wednesday's presentation. He went through HPD's hiring process and training for new officers, and its current staffing and organization. He also showed data on the department's calls for service, arrests, and use of force, including a breakdown by race. The numbers showed a larger percentage of arrests and uses of force involving Native Americans and Black people than their share of the local population. Hagan acknowledged that data, but said they will need to have more in-depth consideration of each case to determine what might be causing it.
It is more than just data that we have to look at. We have to look at individual circumstances as well.
Hagan also spent much of his presentation talking about the department's responses to mental health-related issues. He said those calls have been increasing each year. He said he understands law enforcement isn't always the right response in these cases, but that it will take a much wider effort to find a better way of handling them.
There needs to be enforcement and intervention. It's not just enforcement, it's not just intervention. If we really want to help and build a stronger community, it's going to take a community to fix a lot of the issues that are present in everyday life in Helena.
City leaders also held a series of meetings last month on HPD's School Resource Officer program, before deciding to extend that program for one more year. They moved the issue up so that they could make decisions on SROs before the start of the school year. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
Well, Hurricane Laura, which has become a powerful and dangerous Category 4 storm, is forecast to make landfall early Thursday somewhere near the Texas-Louisiana border. Heavy winds and rains are expected, and storm surge of up to 20 feet to some 40 miles inland is considered a major threat to life and property. CBS News correspondent Mireya Villarreal is in Beaumont, Texas.
Lake Arthur, Louisiana is already feeling the first lashes of Hurricane Laura.
It's a very healthy storm, and what that tells us is there's still actually room for further intensification.
As the Gulf Coast braces for Laura, Governor John Bell Edwards warned of flooding, saying Louisiana has not seen potential storm surge this big in decades.
You're going to hear the word unsurvivable to describe the storm surge that we are expecting.
In southern Louisiana, the Duffy family filled sandbags to protect their home from rising water.
It's possible that it could go into doors, garages, garages, whatever. So until the pumps catch up, you always have an issue with street flooding.
As time to evacuate was running out, Texas Governor Greg Abbott made a last-minute plea.
We urge everybody who may be in harm's way to take these few last hours to get out of harm's way.
People in Port Arthur boarded buses to other parts of Texas and out of the storm's path.
I left a whole lot behind, but just trying to get to safety.
I never left, but yeah, I had to do it this time.
Some evacuees are being housed in hotels because of coronavirus concerns. Shelters in Texas and Louisiana are filling up fast, and right now we know they are doing everything they can to keep these evacuees safe from the storm and the virus.
Everybody comes in, we're spraying hands, we're taking temperatures, and we're keeping people social distancing, and we're doing every precaution that we can do because of the pandemic.
Forecasters say 30 million people are in the path of this giant storm. Mireya Villarreal, CBS News, Beaumont, Texas.
All right, so Grant Garland joins us now. Grant, we all remember Hurricane Katrina, but this one is about as powerful as it gets.
Yeah, that's right, Tim. It's still a Category 4 hurricane, but a very strong one. A Category 4 hurricane can have winds up to 156 miles an hour. Right now, we are looking at 150-mile-an-hour winds. So it only needs to go 6 more winds before we can actually get to a Category 5 hurricane. And this is slamming right into those right around Port Arthur. So our prayers and our thoughts are with them. That wind field is just pushing all that water inland, and that's why we get that storm surge. As far as radar right now, take a look at these heavy rain bands that are making their way into southeastern parts of Texas, southwestern parts of Louisiana. Now the track shows it should go up by Shreveport between Thursday morning and Thursday evening. So probably right around noon is when we'll see that. As far as for home, well, we are looking at mostly clear skies for the time being. Temperatures around 68 degrees here in Great Falls and around 72 in Helena. Now, cooler weather will be moving in, but the question is when, right? Well, find out here in a few minutes, but for now, back to you.
All right, thanks, Grant. Well, MTN News is following up on allegations around a Republican candidate running to represent Montana House District 21 and a Nazi flag displayed behind him. We received this picture of Ed Buttry sitting in a room with the framed flag from Democratic candidate Jamie Horn. Horn said he merely acquired the photo. In an email, he said in part, quote, "The issue with said photo is the framed swastika hanging proudly on the wall. It is important to note that though I am disgusted by this, revelation," end quote. Now, Buttry told MTN News the flag is displayed at the Veterans of Foreign Wars building in Great Falls, along with a sign clearly indicating the flag was captured. The room is filled with other collections and World War II memorabilia. MTN News was not able to film inside the VFW, but we were able to take these pictures, verifying the object's location. Buttry sent a statement to MTN this morning, saying in part, quote, "I find it shameful and disturbing that these types of political games are being played. In this time of pandemic, we should be focused on Montana, not on deceptive, dirty politics," unquote. Upon further inspection, we did notice there is no sign above the Nazi flag in the picture sent to us, but pictures taken today by MTN show the sign and wire hangers clearly visible. VFW staff say the flag's display has been there since the flag was first hung years ago. Well, the pandemic has made going back to school a much bigger challenge for students, teachers, and families this year. For the hearing and visually impaired, it's even harder. A few days into their first week back, MTN's Zach Shermley checked in with the Montana School for the Deaf and Blind.
The school year has officially started here in Montana. It's one bound for the history books. Teachers across the state tackling the challenges of in-person learning during a pandemic. The pandemic has created all sorts of challenges for schools here in Great Falls, but none of those challenges are felt greater than here at the Montana School for the Deaf and Blind.
Rely on using lip reading, and with that mask, it just intervenes with that.
Masks, they're not just a barrier for the virus, but for the hearing impaired, for communication as well.
All my life I depended on reading lips, so now it's like with more people, I'm like, say it again, say it again.
We've had a lot of changes here at MSDB.
MSDB has implemented most of the same public health measures as other schools in Great Falls and across the state, including mandatory face shields, social distancing, temperature checks, limits on large gatherings, and hand washing. But here, those changes come with much greater logistical challenges.
Some of the masks we wear are shields like this so that our students, particularly our deaf, hard of hearing students, can read our lips and see our facial expressions. It's been very challenging for the visually impaired students because we tend to work closely in close physical proximity with them, and we're not able to do that now.
School officials say they have to work extra hard, regularly cleaning technology and getting creative with mask wearing to keep students safe. MSDB is the only school of its kind in the state attracting students and family from across the Northwest. It's a one-of-a-kind learning experience that completely changed when the school had to transition to online learning.
It was definitely a challenge and a pretty steep learning curve.
I am totally happy to be back because of the interaction with people.
Despite the extra challenges, overwhelmingly students and staff here at MSDB happy to be back and eager to start the new year ahead. In Great Falls, I'm Zach Shermley, MTN News.
Well, today marked the first day of classes for East Helena Public Schools, including the opening of the new high school. Parents were filled with emotions as they dropped their kids off. Students gathered for their classrooms separately outside in order to maintain social distance. Teachers screened each student and took their temperature before entering class. Leaders say these procedures are now a work in progress.
We need our parents and guardians to be flexible and to remember that this is a work in progress, and we will lay out the best plan today that we have, and it may need to be adjusted in the next few days to make it work, and we'll stay in communication with them.
East Helena plans to have the same group of students in one class all day for the week. Even when in recess, students must stay in a specific area. Today is Women's Equality, a day celebrating the adoption of the 19th Amendment, which gave women across the country the right to vote. In downtown Helena, the Equal Work Task Force was joined by Governor Bullock and Lieutenant Governor Cooney to celebrate the occasion. Bullock renewed his Equal Pay executive order and extended the Equal Pay for Equal Work Task Force through 2022 to continue its work to narrow the wage gap. When the task force began its work in 2013, Montana women made around 32% less than male co-workers. In 2020, that gap has narrowed to 27%. Jen Ewell with the task force says the pay gap is a systemic issue that's affected each generation and will take some time to fully curb.
When you're talking about equal pay, you're not talking about any one behavior or any one person. You're talking about something that is literally in the water. And so what we know is that there are ways at which we can start to chip away at the pay gap, but it's going to take a long time before we finally are able to address all of the deep roots.
Since the task force began, 40 state employees have undergone wage negotiation trainings to ensure women have the tools to negotiate for a competitive salary. Well, the Golden Corral restaurant in Great Falls has closed its doors permanently. No explanation for the closure was given, just a sign on the door, although a man at the restaurant who identified himself as a newly hired manager confirmed that the COVID-19 situation was a factor. The restaurant was well known for providing free meals to veterans every year on Veterans Day. It also got an on-air shout-out from talk show host and part-time Teton County resident David Letterman on The Late Show after the building was damaged in a fire several years ago. When we come back, we take a look at the steps Big Sky Country farmers and ranchers are taking to stop the spread of wildfire.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Welcome back. Wildfires continue to burn across the West, including right here in Montana. The ranchers are working with Congress and the Trump administration on the need to prevent those catastrophic wildfires in the future. The Montana Ag Network's Russell Nemitz has more on this story.
According to the National Interagency Fire Center, there are 93 active large wildfires currently burning across the United States, which have charred over 1.8 million acres. Caitlin Glover is the executive director of NCBA's Natural Resources and the Public Lands Council and says, even though fire is a natural part of the ecosystem, preventing these catastrophic wildfires is important to America's livestock industry.
Fire is a natural part of the ecosystem cycle, right? What we're trying to prevent are these large, catastrophic, incredibly hot, incredibly fast-moving fires that do take the homes, they take the outbuildings, and we've seen horrific images in the past of cattle and sheep who aren't able to get out of the way. So those are the kind of fires that we're trying to prevent.
And she says lessons can be learned from the past so that future regulations and treatments fit the environment's true resource needs.
If we make those regulations right-sized, if we make sure that we have the flexibility to react to a fire on the ground or to a flood on the ground or even drought conditions, we're going to find that our managers are going to be much more successful, and ultimately we will see better range conditions, better conditions for cattle, better conditions for our rural communities who face all of these impacts when catastrophic fire comes through.
In Billings, Russell Nemitz, MTN News.
Montana Senator Steve Daines, along with California's Dianne Feinstein, recently introduced bipartisan forest management reform legislation, which, among other things, increases active management of federal forests and gives the U.S. Forest Service tools to protect communities from deadly wildfires.
Temperatures tonight dropping down to the mid-50s for many folks. Don't go away. Your 7-day forecast is coming up next.
Get break. Storm Tracker weather starts now with Grant Garland.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you have had a fantastic Wednesday evening and ready to tackle on Thursday. Today's highs did get up to the upper 80s for a lot of folks. 87 degrees in Great Falls, 86 in Helena, and 88 in Havre, 91 in Bojordan as well as Glasgow. Now, the average for this time of year is around 79 degrees. So, yes, we were above it, but at least we didn't beat the record that was set back in 1894 when it was 96 degrees. That was also the year that the Black Eagle Band started. But now, and it was only that for the first season, the name, and now it is the Great Falls Municipal Band. So there you go. Some local news for you. 65 in Lewistown, 63 in Havre, 72 in Helena, around 68 degrees in Great Falls. Our winds aren't too bad either. 7-mile-per-hour winds in Great Falls as well as Lewistown, 10 in Glasgow. Over the last 3 hours, we have been looking at a clearing trend, so to speak, from pretty much Great Falls on up towards Havre, down towards Lewistown, though, and Billings. Still looking at a few showers that have been making their way out towards the east-northeast, but thankfully everyone in our viewing area is staying dry. As far as our winds are concerned for tomorrow, 10 to 20-mile-per-hour wind gusts, some possibly 30-mile-per-hour wind gusts here in the Electric City. That could have some problems in terms of drying us out. Our humidity tomorrow will get down to right around 16%, right around 3:30. That's when we're expecting to be the driest part of our day. And as far as any thunderstorms tomorrow, we are looking at an elevated risk for fire weather and from Great Falls to Havre down towards Lewistown, so right in there. Now, as far as the chance for some severe weather, we do have that as well. Pretty much the eastern part of the state as well as the northeastern part of the state. Possibility for isolated severe thunderstorms bring with them damaging wind gusts as well as lightning and large hail is possible. Going throughout the night, most of us will stay dry. Clouds start to move, though, out towards Glasgow, so you guys will have a mostly cloudy start to your morning. By, though, tomorrow evening, showers will stay mainly south of Helena. Not looking at really any problems there. Going throughout Friday, we will be looking at staying dry for pretty much the entire day. It will be a beautiful day for us on Friday. Now, as far as our continuous talk about Hurricane Laura, right now it kind of just went dark, but she is it's about to make landfall in southwestern Louisiana, probably only an hour to go. Taking a look though real quick, so here we go. We have these winds that are coming out of the south, and that has helped pushing that water out into the coastland and possibly 40 miles inland. You're going to be able to see a storm surge. That's because you have these tight winds that this gradient that produces really, really strong winds that's lofting the water up into the inland. So Hurricane Laura, Category 4 storm, 150 mile per hour winds, it's only 7 miles per hour away from becoming Category 5 as it makes its trip up towards Kentucky by Friday morning at around 7 a.m. You can always stay weather aware by following me on social media at meteorologist Grant Garland on Facebook and downloading that free KRTV app. Temperatures 54 degrees in Great Falls, 55 in Lewistown tonight, 56 in Hayes, and 51 up towards Haber. We are looking at tomorrow, temperatures around 82 degrees, as well as on Friday. Sunny skies on Saturday, a little bit warmer. Chances, though, for showers do come back into play on Sunday, and we'll keep those chances around for Monday as well. Tim?
Coming up, a dream comes to light. After years of hard work, MSU Northern finally has a field of their own. We'll take you to the ribbon-cutting ceremony.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Welcome back. It was a special night in Havre for a ribbon-cutting ceremony at MSU Northern. Tom Wiley joins us from the new home of the Lights football team.
Now, 5 months ago, they broke ground here at MSU Northern for the brand new football stadium. They certainly wish they were playing a football game this fall, but nonetheless, plenty to celebrate up here in Havre.
Somebody told me it's a field of dreams, and you know, I think that's an appropriate title for it. But it is a dream come true, and these are hard projects in small communities. And when you have to rally the community to get their support behind it, and then to step up and make contributions so that we can make it happen, that's a feat in itself. And
we had our first team meeting in the stadium last night, and the kids were speechless. You know, we've been talked about. We've brought in recruits with the mindset that, hey, you're going to be playing in a new stadium, and I think it's finally here. It's come to fruition. So just sheer excitement from our guys. The looks on our players' faces, I think, says it all.
This is beautiful. Really neat. Really neat, really something that should be here for a long time. And we need football here, and it's a proud sport, and we're happy as Tillman family to be a part of putting this together.
Tom Wiley, MTN News.
After the ribbon cutting, the Lights held a ceremony to honor Mike Tillman and family. Tom will have more on Tillman's impact on MSU Northern on Friday, and we'll be right back.
Well, tonight, temperatures falling down to 54 degrees in Great Falls, 55 in Lewistown, and 58 in Glasgow. Overall, as we wake up tomorrow in Great Falls, temperatures will be right around 56 with mostly sunny skies for the kids to get out to school. Overall, 82 degrees tomorrow in Great Falls and 83 in the capital. And we are looking at the chances for showers and thunderstorms not sticking around until Sunday. That's when we'll have the best chance for any shower activity, and we'll continue that on Monday.
Well, for the first time since the coronavirus pandemic forced it to shutter in mid-March, the Los Angeles Zoo welcomed back visitors today. The zoo reopened after being closed for 166 straight days. That's the longest closure in the zoo's history. So it's good to see things getting somewhat back to normal, at least in the animal world. They're probably happy, too, to see some people.
Interaction, I would love to go, but that's pretty neat to see everything.
All right, that's all the time we have. Have a great night.